People! People, not pixels. People! Well, this didn't take very long.
The Metaverse is an online platform where people can use virtual reality headsets to transport themselves to any realm they wish, including church. Jackie Banez explains the appeal of digital worshiping in the Metaverse.
Hold on, Jackie. This is Wretched Radio. Before we get to this news report on Metaverse Church, let's consider what the Metaverse is. It's not reality. It is not actual. It is virtual reality. It's a simulation, but it's not the real thing. And yet, as you're about to hear, so many people deceived into thinking, not only am I doing church, I'm doing church better in the universe. In fact, I got baptized in the Metaverse.
I believe the future of the church is the Metaverse.
A growing number of people are turning to the Metaverse for their religious services as folks pop on virtual reality headsets and partake in digital church.
Let me have someone read verses 19 through 21.
But just because it's virtual doesn't mean it's less interactive than going to a physical house of worship.
Hold on, it most certainly is. It's not interactive at all. It's not real. It's like a Billy Joel song. It's just a fantasy. It's not the real thing. And yet people are believing, yeah, actually it is. And I put my goggles on and I'm going to church. No, you're not.
If anything, VR church participants say it enhances their religious experience.
I was able to see a rendering of the verse I was reading, which made scripture much more meaningful for me.
And it's so much more than scripture readings. Baptisms are also taking place in the Metaverse.
The rebirth that you got from Jesus Christ. Do you want this? Yes, I do. Yes. I baptize you now.
But this kind of worshiping isn't just for the tech savvy. Founders say it's helping enhance the lives of people who can't physically attend a church.
Now, that's a point worth considering. What about folks who just can't get to actual, genuine physical worship? I believe we can use technology to witness church, and that is good, and that is right, and it will help you to still feel connected, and that is good. But we need to recognize it's still not church. And that's why when somebody I think is homebound, the church should be coming to them in order to experience the fullness of the assembling of the saints. So let's use technology, but let's not be deceived, no matter what the motivation is, into thinking that this is actual church. It's not. It's virtual. And this is a thought that I think will help us not freak out over the entire concept of the metaverse. I've been seeing all kinds of conversations on different talk shows. I was watching one that was thoroughly secular, and they're very concerned about the metaverse. Well, are there some things that are concerning? Yes. But I would also suggest to you, we need to remember that it is not real. Now, here's the tricky part about the metaverse. Even though it's not real, you go off, put your big goggles on, you go into this pretend world, you could do something there that gets brought into this world. You behave in such a way that people are able to go, look, I was in the metaverse with that guy, and he said or did this thing. That could happen. But that could happen with virtually any form of communication, couldn't it? Face to face. I was with him and he said this. So it doesn't make any difference. My point is, it's not real. And furthermore, you don't need to go there. You don't have to visit the metaverse. I know this isn't a perfect illustration because it does appear with the sophistication of technology that the considerations need to be more sophisticated. But in a sense, this is no different than your computer and your internet. You go there, but you don't go there. Did you ever stop and think, I'm actually there? The deception of the metaverse is you're seeing images and you feel like you're there. You get to go skiing without going to Colorado. You get to see the Eiffel Tower without visiting the location where the Eiffel Tower is. You are not there, and you don't need to go there, which means you don't need to be worried about it. Are you concerned about the internet? Well, yeah, we do have some concerns, but are you worried that somehow your soul is going to get sucked into it? Or even that your kids, now they can be affected by it. There is no question about that. But it's just that. It's an effect. It causes the effect of feeling a certain way in reality or behaving a certain way in reality. Reality is this. It's not that. The metaverse is also, in my opinion, going to be one that I think can be used for nefarious reasons that we should be aware of. There are going to be rules in the metaverse. There are going to be morality clauses. There are going to be things that are acceptable and not acceptable. And incidentally, just in case the gods of the metaverse think that they actually are divine and creating something unique, they're not. The metaverse, which doesn't have God in mind except potentially to hate him, they use his laws all the time. The laws of God, the laws of nature, the laws of science that he created and stands behind, they're in the metaverse. So they've lifted from God. They bring it into the metaverse. They do have laws. They do have rules. They do have principles, but they're going to start to be rewritten. And you're going to think, therefore, that you can go do things there, and it just stays there. It doesn't. It comes back into this reality because you can be tagged for it just like you can on social media. You say something dopey there, and then we find out about it where? In the real world. It's real people responding. The metaverse has all kinds of challenges. For instance, I think that it could be a propaganda tool. It almost certainly already is, where bad instruction, bad news, censored information will be doled out, controlled by somebody. These things don't program themselves, and they will try to indoctrinate, encourage amoral behavior and attitudes, but it's not real, but it will be brought into reality. That is the danger of the metaverse. But having said all of that, you don't need to go there. Your life doesn't have to change. I don't see why a Christian has to be concerned that somehow this is going to mess things up, except for the fact that we're being deceived into thinking this is actual church.
People like Alina Delp, who was diagnosed with a chronic illness that's confined her to her home.
Suddenly you're empowered again. Suddenly you matter again. Suddenly you're human again.
But can church services originally intended to be done in person really be accomplished online? Some aren't so sure.
Jesus says, when 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, I am there. And Christian theologians have not yet grappled with what that means when they're gathered in digital spaces.
As Jackie Ibanez reporting, supporters of metaverse worship say it's people, not a physical building that embodies a church.
Right. But people, not pixels, people. And this is the problem with that. Do you remember when this first raised its head decades ago? Church isn't a building, it's people. Well, that's true. We just happen to worship in buildings because it protects you from the elements. That isn't the physical building. The brick isn't the church of Jesus Christ. It's the facilitation of the church of Jesus Christ, but it's still real people, really being together, really doing real things, really needing one another, helping one another. I know these days that masks are covering a lot of our emotions. And by the way, just read an article that said one speech therapist saw like a 320% rise in speech therapy visits from toddlers because their ability to read lips has been diminished because of the mask. And so they're experiencing speech impediments and struggling to talk. Just remember, it's not death. We see each other. We can. I can't get your physical cues on the metaverse. Not yet, anyway. It's not that sophisticated. I can't read body language. Furthermore, I can't shake your hand, pat you on the back. Not going to do the holy kiss, but greet you warmly. Do the old traditional Baptist hug, where you kind of do the shoulder thing and then you pat 3 times. Never more. Never do circles. Don't slide off of their arms, and don't raise your foot while you're hugging the other fella. We can't do any of those things. Furthermore, we can't do the one another's. There are some dangers to the metaverse. I get it. I think they will become indoctrination centers. They will become propagators of false information. They will be censored. They will become amoral. They will try to infect reality with their rewriting of virtual reality. And they're going to try to undermine the importance of being in a local church. But I don't think that we need to fear it, because it's simply not real. Until tomorrow, go serve your king. You're just watching a 1 segment from the 4 segments that we do every single day on Wretched Radio. If you'd like to watch the whole shebang, you can do so at wretched.org. Well, thank you, Carol. I can't wait to try some of that low-sodium peppermint lasagna. Sounds delicious. Let's get to the weather, shall we? As you can see, we are going to have a massive warm front moving its way up the eastern seaboard, expecting temperatures upper 90s and low 100s. Unless, of course, you're outside of Christ. Then on Judgment Day, it is going to be hot. Back to you, Carol. Not only hot, weeping, gnashing of teeth. And so thirsty, your tongue's going to be stuck to the roof of your mouth. You're just going to wish for a storm to come through, which you folks down in the South can be expecting on Wednesday.